Happy Father's Day, I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein. It's the one day a year we honor the fathers in our lives. And since I'm a chef, I like to do that with food. So join me today as I give you some of my best recipes to celebrate dear old dad. So don't move, So Full of Taste is next. How fun is that? Welcome Taste Buds and welcome to So Full of Taste here in the Goya Kitchen at J World in Coconut Creek. Father's Day has rolled around again, time to honor Pop. Sadly, Father's Day celebrations have come to letting Dad slap some meat on the grill, eat it, then fall asleep on the sofa watching sports. I want to stop that. I thought it would be fun to give you recipes from my Father's Day shows of the past that will honor Dad and not make him work. So let's get to looking back and cooking. Unless the father in your life is a vegan, my first recipe will make his mouth water. Watch this recipe from last year, Braised Bone-In Short Ribs. It's making my mouth water right now. The first thing I wanted to make, because my father loves this, my braised short ribs. Now, I've been making this for a long time. I have changed the recipes so many times, and it is my first time getting short ribs from Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. You know, they're my dear friends, and I use them a lot here on the show, and we adore them. By the way, when I drove up, I couldn't get over it. The parking lot is redesigned. It now makes curbside delivery so much more convenient. There are stores in Hollywood at 4191 State Road 7. And just go to DelawareChicken.com or call 954-983-6831 to place your order. And make sure you tell them I sent you. So what this is kind of what they call an English style. So it's a single bone on the bottom. You see that? And so this weighs 1 pound. This is 1 pound of bone-in meat. So to me, this is good for one person for a really hearty main course. These have been kind of cured, and I salt and I pepper them, and I let them sit in the fridge uncovered overnight, and it develops a dry, crisp kind of coat to it so that when you sear it, it's a nice dry sear. They don't really need much fat, so I'm really just gonna add like a teaspoon, just a teaspoon of some, whatever, grapeseed oil, canola oil, whatever you've got. Even olive oil is fine. You don't wanna go too hot, but you do want it to smoke, just like it's doing now. And you don't want to crowd the pan. Make sure that side is down. Whatever fits in your pan is what you should cook. So I think in my pan that I have here, only 3 bones will fit. And you really want to get a good golden, crisp color and texture all along the rib. So you really want both sides of the rib. But primarily, obviously, the fat cap is really what we need to get golden brown. And already the smell of the meat is just glorious. So have a little plate or a little pan ready, because after we sear the meat, we're gonna need room to sear the vegetables and to caramelize them as well. The caramelization of the vegetable is just as important, okay, almost as important as the caramelization of the meat. All right, so when you're caramelized all over, you put these aside for just a couple moments. And this is simple mirepoix. And mirepoix is onion, celery, and carrot. Mainly onion though. I would say about almost 2/3 of it is onion, yellow onion. So to this, I'm going to add a few whole garlic cloves, 1 whole star anise. I love the smell of star anise, and I think it's delicious in the rib. Just about like 4 to 5 peppercorns whole, and the herb bundle. And then finally, just a couple of pieces of orange peel. Try not to get the pith, which is the white part, because that's the bitter part. So when you go in there, don't push too hard, because you'll definitely get pith. Just go kind of softly around. And you'll just want a couple of pieces of peel. It would really give a really great fragrance to your broth. So like I told you, I had already heavily salted and peppered the rib, so I am not going to salt this at all. To me, it has enough. And you can always fix the broth later and add more salt, but we really don't want to go any saltier because this has salt. It's going back in here. It's going to season our broth. When you use wine in your recipes, you want it to be a drinking wine. You don't want it to be a cooking wine. That actually has a lot of sodium in it. So I love a nice heady red wine, not too fruity, dry in my reduction. So once your vegetables are caramelized, add in the wine. We're going to let this red wine reduce almost all the way down. Our red wine has reduced. I will now add beef stock or broth or chicken stock or broth. Then we put our seared ribs into the pan. And I will just give you one little piece of advice. You will be wrapping this in foil and putting this into the oven, and it will take 3 hours. Now, in those 3 hours, your liquid might reduce too low in the pan. So if it comes down more than halfway, I say just pour a little more liquid, cover it up again, and keep on going. And what you want is for it to be incredibly tender. And let me show you what you're looking for. So when you stick a paring knife into your ribs, it should go right in like that. No give at all, okay? You just want it crazy tender. Now it's up to you if you want to serve it on the bone or not. I'm going to actually take these ribs and place them on a sheet because what you're going to want to do is strain the vegetables and of course herbs out of the broth. Be careful because these are really soft and the meat will just slide. Look at this, it slides right off the bone. It's just gorgeous. All right, so let's place these over here for now. So I have a strainer set into a little pan right here, a little sauce pot. I'm gonna pour, now it's up to you. If you wanna serve it with all these little bits of vegetables, they're very soft, but I wanted it to be just a little bit more quote unquote refined. So I'm gonna put that saucepan right on the burner for just a second while we start showing you how to plate this beautiful rib. If you hate kale, then you can use sauteed spinach. Swiss chard is delicious. It's pretty much up to you what you want to use. And like I said, you can serve it on or off the bone. It's up to you. I mean, look at that. This thing is about to pop right off. So if you wanted to take it off the bone, just shake it a couple times and it will come right off of there. So place your rib down in the center of a beautiful plate and then take some of this gorgeous reduction and pour it right over. And look how beautiful that is. I think it's just such a lovely dish. Didn't that look good? Trust me, it tastes even better. Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market reminds you can still get something great for Father's Day. Stop by at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood. Call them at 954-983-6831. Place an order. But when you go, tell them I sent you. More recipes for Dad to come, so come right back.
There's still more from the Goya Kitchen at J.A. World and Michelle.
Welcome back to SoFlo Tasteworm celebrating Father's Day. The state of Washington was the first state to celebrate Father's Day. Not surprisingly, it happened right after Mother's Day was recognized. But it wasn't until 1972, some 58 years after Mother's Day was made a national holiday, that Dad got his day on the list of national holidays as well. So now let's go back to looking back at Father's Day food. I promised Dad meat and potatoes. Well, here are your potatoes, herb roasted potatoes, perfect to go with the short ribs, even though they were from my Father's Day shows a year apart. From 2020, absolutely enjoy. I simmered some of the tiniest potatoes I could find, and if you can't find these, you can do fingerlings or any small potato like a creamer would work, and you cook them until they're tender but not coming apart. So watch them and don't let them boil too hard. And then I basically I use the lid on my ghee. You can use your hand or pretty much anything to gently push down and let them just kind of smash a little bit. And we're going to add a little bit of ghee to this pan for those. Now ghee is great. I use it a lot because it has a really high smoking point, but it gives you the flavor of the butter, yet all the dairy has been removed. The milk solids, I should say. So we're going to crisp these potatoes up in that ghee. I just want to keep on crisping these potatoes. All right, so our potatoes are looking beautifully crisp. These potatoes are basically done. I'm going to shut them off, and I'm going to add a little bit of rosemary and thyme because it's so delicious. Let's chop that up. So I prefer harder herbs like rosemary and thyme on my potatoes. We're going to go with a little bit of these, but also a couple of softer herbs. It basically just means the soft feel of the herbs. All right, so this goes on my potato. I actually don't need to drain the potato. They look pretty good. They're not greasy at all. I'm just going to season them with a little bit of Maldon salt and a little bit of black pepper. So let's move those out of the way. Gorgeous. Look how pretty they are. Nice and crisp on the outside, tender on the inside. Come right back so I can give you more recipes for celebrating Dad. But before you go, scan this QR code here or on our ingredient list throughout the show. You'll be taken to the SoFlo Shows page for past shows and recipes. Now, come right back for more Dad food.
Join me, design expert Elena Capra, for SoFlo Home Project, immediately following SoFlo Taste.
Stay tuned to SoFlo Taste. We'll be right back. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste as I give you a dinner menu for the fathers in your life. As I always am, I'm here at JA World in Coconut Creek, a great place dedicated to our kids. For more information, go to jasouthflorida.org or call them at 954-979-7100. Now back to the food. It's time for dessert. This is one of my favorites and should be a favorite of your dad's too. It's brownies, but not just brownies, cherry brownies. And not just cherry brownies. Someone once said, and it might have been me, everything is better with bacon. So here comes cherry bacon brownies. Yum! We are making the obnoxious cherry bacon, double chocolate and sherry, like it is true sherry brownie.
You had me at bacon.
Yeah, I have most people at bacon. I have to be honest, I'm not a bacon chocolate kind of a girl, but man, this is a good recipe. I used this once for an event and people went crazy. So we've got some eggs going in here with some sugar. We are looking for some nice thick ribbons. When we have that, you can pretty much stop. How long are you going to stick around with me right now?
As long as you want me.
Well, that would be till the end of the show. All right, so right over here, I have butter and some bittersweet chocolate melted. We're going to add the fat from all the bits of beautiful bacon that I have over there going in. The bacon fat has been mixed in and it looks emulsified. It doesn't look broken. Then you take your sherry. So this is manzanilla, but you can go anywhere and get your favorite sherry. So this is all really well mixed in. And I'm going to slowly drizzle in this chocolate that has cooled for 6 to 8 minutes. This is a very rich, deep chocolate brownie recipe, which was why it was good to hold up to the sherry and the bacon. Okay. Then by hand, I'm going to go ahead and add in the flour and all these great bits. So here I have some dried cherries that have been just cut a little bit down, I would say in quarters. And if you'd like dried cranberries, you can use that instead. We have some toasted walnuts that have been chopped, but not too fine because I love to find crunches and bits in my brownies. And then, of course, the bacon that we rendered to get the bacon fat, we cut it really nice and tiny. Look how small that's cut because I didn't want to find big chunks of bacon in my brownie. So we're going to start with the flour all at once. Fold that in. And, of course, if you wanted to, you can add a little bit of big salt, like a Maldon salt. My favorite larger crunchy salt to it, but I find that with these bacon bits, it might be enough saltiness for you. So once that flour goes in, I'm not gonna add all this stuff. I'm just gonna add about half of the amount of cherries that I have here. Same with the walnuts, and same with the bacon. So this is a 9x13 baking pan, and then we put just a piece of foil down, but we sprayed the whole pan with a nonstick oil spray. You're gonna pour all of your brownie in there. And this has a funny temperature to it, so you're gonna heat your oven to 425 degrees. When you put the brownie in, immediately lower the oven to 400 degrees. The cooking time is actually 21 to 22 minutes. I know that's a little funky, but that's how long it takes, and it usually works right on time. Stick either a skewer or a sharp paring knife into it to make sure that it's done. And here you have these beautiful brownies. If you check out the inside, you can see all the crazy goodness, all the bits of the cherries and the walnuts and the bacon. Oh my goodness, this is so good.
Now that's a great dessert for dear old dad. Come right back, I've got a cocktail recipe for you and the fathers in your life.
SoFlo Taste will return right after this.
It's time to lift your glass for a toast to dad. And here's the recipe for that glass. Watch.
David is going to show us a cocktail that I chose for him. Did I choose properly for you?
You chose very well.
Did
yes.
I? It's like old Prohibition type cocktail?
No, way older than that. It's from before the Civil War. It's
Okay.
one of the oldest documented American cocktails.
All right, so it is the Sazerac.
From New Orleans.
From New Orleans.
Well, the original Sazerac is with cognac. However, over the years, cognac became harder to obtain. Now the more traditional Sazerac is served with rye whiskey. It's not for the faint of heart, if you will. Very simple. Absinthe. So this is originally, they use it a lot in France, a lot in England. It has an anise flavor to it. At one point, it was outlawed here in this country.
And then you have Peychaud's bitters.
Correct.
Instead of Angostura bitters. Why?
Peychaud's is the original version of it from New Orleans. This bitters is from New Orleans. So to prep this drink, the first thing you want to do is, if you have a room temperature glass, put ice in it, regular ice, just a touch of absinthe in the glass, just like that. Next thing you want to do is grab one sugar cube.
Only one?
Only one, unless we're making drinks for two. But yes,
or for me.
Only one.
Okay.
You put about 3 dashes of the Peychaud's.
Can I smell that?
Of course.
Thanks. Oh, it smells good.
I brought a simple muddler today. Some people like to use a muddler spoon. You don't want to overdo. You don't want to crush it too much. So you just want to be able to mix the sugar and the bitters. Then we're going to add 1.5 ounces of the rye. Yeah, very important about this drink, you never ever want to shake it. So those 3 ingredients, you simply stir it here. All right. Then you go ahead and toss your ice. And what you're left with is a glass with absinthe essence that's very, very cold. Add a little ice here. There we go, stir it here. All of the ingredients are mixed together without shaking. There we are. All right, then you just grab a strainer. Strain it all into your glass that has the essence of absinthe. There we are. And then the last touch you want to do, you can use a zester or a peeler, whatever you have at home, for a lemon twist. The most important part of this is you want to get the acids of it into the drink itself, as well as cover some of the rim. There we are. Some people don't like to put the twist in. I personally throw it right in, and voila. There you have the Sazerac. Would you like to try?
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
I mean, it's yummy, but it's a little strong for me. Do you love it?
That's delicious.
if you may say so yourself.
Especially with that pork, that would go nicely.
Thanks, Taste Buds, for watching my retro tip of the hat to dear old dad. Like Mother's Day, it doesn't seem fair to only have one day a year to honor fathers, but since we do, try my menu to show him you care. Next week, I'm protecting pollinators. You know, the animals, whether winged or not, that pollinate our food and fabric crops, especially our bees. And I'm doing it with recipes for plants that need pollination. This show idea wasn't my first. It's kind of my plan B. So join me for the next SoFlo Taste. Now let's say good morning to design expert Elena Capra, host of SoFlo Home Project. Good morning, Elena. What's up next?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So gathering spaces, whether indoor or out, are being transformed in our homes. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we take a look at sophisticated and contemporary home furnishings for both of those spaces.
Thanks, Elena, and wish your father a happy day on his day. So my Taste Buds, please be smart, be safe, and be vaccinated, and stay where you are for SoFlo Home Project and Elena. I'll see you next week. Goodbye, good taste, and happy Father's Day, dads. Happy Father's Day.